For today's session in BBA 2106, Seminar in Business 2, we will have a technical topic entitled Multiple Table Analysis with Power Pivot in Microsoft Excel. This session will be conducted by myself, Assistant Professor Dr. Pisan Setwong. Before we begin, I would like to rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about pivot tables that you have covered in your earlier courses. Pivot table is a feature in Microsoft Excel that allows you to summarize and analyze large amounts of tabular data in a spreadsheet. From a source table, the feature enables you to reorganize, filter, manipulate, and summarize the data, which makes them particularly useful tools for data analysis. They are key tools for business analysts, financial professionals, and anybody dealing with complex data sets in Excel. Before we go on to our topic, we're going to look at a demonstration of pivot tables in use. We're going to have our data, which is in one table. There can be things like transaction logs, sales logs, logistics logs, and so on. And we will summarize them with pivot tables and charts to find useful information from our data. Let's begin our demonstration. In this Excel file, we have some sales data. Let's use pivot table to summarize everything inside this data set. So to begin with, I will select the data that I would need for the pivot table. I will click on the table. I will press Ctrl A to select all of them. Click on Insert. Click on Pivot Table. I have selected the range that I want, and I will make a pivot table in a new worksheet. So over here, sheet 3, I will change the name to pivot table. In my pivot table, I can build the reports by choosing the fields that I have from the data, and I can drag the fields in the area that are below. The important areas are the rows and the columns. And we can notice we also have the values over here in which we can do summary statistics on the data that we have, such as count, such as the average, such as the sum, or the standard deviation. If we want to select limited records from our data set, we can apply the filters over here. So let's do a very simple pivot table example. I'm going to basically find out who are the salesperson and what is the total sales amount that they have. So let me just drag salesperson to the row. Let's rename the row from row label to salesperson. Then we want to calculate how much total amount of the orders that I have in the company. We can drag the order amount to the values. Let's change the name of the column. And we can notice that another thing that needs to be changed is that the number is in the wrong format. So I'm going to change this to US dollars to make this correct. And to make this a little bit more interesting, let's just use a little of conditional formatting. Let's add some data bars, okay? So we can have a rough reference of which salesperson has the most sales in the company and which one which has less. Now we can also do many more things, but this is not the major part of our session. I will add a small timeline with the order dates, and we can notice that with our pivot table, we can also analyze based on different years, time periods for our analysis. The pivot tables are useful. There are many limitations. The main drawback of the original pivot table is that it can only be used directly with one data table. The issue is that many organizations will store their data in multiple tables. There is a mismatch between how the organization stores the data and the data that is used in the pivot table. To understand this better, let's look at how data in organization are stored. Since there's a lot of data in an organization, they will use a specialized software called a relational database to store the organization data needs. The data are stored in tables, which rows are used for the records and columns are used for the attributes. A relationship will be defined between the tables. This will help reduce the data redundancy and improve data integrity. To understand how is it like, let's look at the following case study. The table that we see over here is a simplified student enrollment record of a university for a semester. If we look at this table, there are multiple examples of redundant data. When we have this redundant data, we have a very big issue in maintaining. Suppose Mani Jaidi changes her name. This is very common in Thailand. We have to change multiple places in the table. And this can be a very, very dangerous thing to do. So, how do we solve these issues in a relational database? In relational database, they actually will use a process which is called data normalization. This is a process that is done to reduce the data redundancy inside the data and improve the data integrity when you're updating the data. The idea behind is very simple. We divide larger data tables into smaller manageable tables and utilize relationships. So from the table from above, we can convert this into three tables. One of the table will contain the student ID and the subject ID. For the subject ID, we will only contain the details of unique subjects. And for the student IDs, we will contain the data of the unique students. So when the student change the name, we can quickly change in the student table. Or if we have a subject that changed the name, suppose BBA 1001 is changed from business exploration into introduction to business, you only need to change it in the subject table. So we can see right now that when we have this database, let's go back and explore how things are done before you have your Excel file to analyze. We can notice that we have your database. The database administrator will select the table and usually export this data into a comma separated value file, which is a CSV file. This is a text file that can be opened in Excel. So a lot of people will open the CSV file in Excel and save it as an XLSX Excel file, and they will use it to analyze for later. And we can see that through the process of data normalization, your data that you need may be scattered into multiple tables. So we actually have this mismatch in which the data that you require in your query may be stored in multiple tables in your organizational relational database. And you have to see that each of these exports are done by individual tables, and the mismatch in the data will require workarounds to analyze. We cannot use multiple tables directly in regular pivot tables. To deal with the issue that your data may come in multiple tables, a nifty two Power Pivot and data models were introduced to Microsoft Excel. From version 2016 onwards, this feature is considered a standard tool in Microsoft Office. This tool allows multiple table analysis. By the creation of data models, we can establish the relationship between the tables, and we can perform sophisticated data analysis from the multiple tables that we have. One of the issues that we have with Power Pivot and data models is that these features are not available in the Microsoft Office of Apple macOS at the present. Now let's go and explore the Power Pivot and data models next. and we will talk about the workarounds after our demonstration. To access the tool, you will need to enable the tool by typing Power Pivot in the search tool and access Go to Power Pivot window. Enable the add-in. To set up the multiple table relationships, all the tables have to be imported into the data model, which is the collection of tables in the memory usable by Excel. Find the table that will be exported. Make sure that the table name is easy to understand, as you will be referencing to it later. Click on Power Pivot menu and add to Data Model. Repeat the process for all the tables required. Notice the tabs with the table names are now imported into Power Pivot. In the example provided, there are the salesperson data and financial data table. There is a shared key of salesperson ID in which the relationship has to be set up. On the Power Pivot windows, click on Home and the diagram wheel. Drag the salesperson ID field to each other to set up the relationship. To create the pivot table with all the tables in the relationship, click on the Home menu and Pivot Table icon to set up a new pivot table. The new pivot table now has views of both tables. You can use all the Power Pivot functionalities to generate whatever report you would like. One quick tip is to utilize slices, timelines, and Power Pivot charts together to create dynamic charts, which are extra useful. If we're using an Apple computer, we have to do a lot of workarounds. To understand the reason why, we have to understand that Microsoft Office in macOS is outdated compared to Microsoft Windows, and you'll be missing multiple features including Power Pivot and data models are not included in Microsoft Office on macOS. If you really want to use this feature, it is not possible, and you will have to use one of the multiple workarounds that will be suggested to you. The first workaround that is suggested is for people who use Mac computers and have some technical background. The easiest way is to install Microsoft Windows on your Mac OS, either by using Apple Boot Camp or using a virtual machine on Mac OS. Once you have installed Windows on your Mac OS as a virtual machine, you can install the latest version of Microsoft Office and use the tools that were described earlier. If you are not a technical user, this may be too difficult. So there's another solution that can be done. This solution is usually done by the database administrator, but if you want to analyze multiple data, multiple tables from an export from the database, you can use a process that is called denormalization. Denormalization is the process in which we will combine tables. We will duplicate the data and store pre-compute results so that it will simplify the data retrieval and improve the query performance. Once all of the required data that you want to use is denormalized into one table, we can use the original pivot table to analyze that data. This process can be difficult to do if you don't have the necessary background, but it is one solution that can be done, or you can ask the database administrator to do this for you. In summary, this seminar session explains about the Power Pivot feature. Power Pivot enables the creation of data models that can handle large volumes of data, provide complex calculations, and facilitate the creation of meaningful reports and visualizations from multiple data tables. This allows business analysts to use the organization data directly, which are usually stored in multiple tables in relational databases. Hopefully, the session is useful to all of you. If you have any questions about the content of today's seminar, you can contact me via the details provided in the slides at the end. Thank you for your attention and see you in the future.